I'm gonna give you guys a quick tour of the flea market where I have my booth, answer some common questions, and then let you know why I don't think having a booth is for everyone. My area has a ton of antique malls and indoor flea markets. There are several huge markets like Relics, Mike's Unique, and STD, which is the actual name of a store. The small size of Finding You Treasures is one of my favorite things about it. I get asked all the time about theft, and I know several vendors in bigger locations that have had problems. But so far, thankfully, I haven't had any issues. And I think that's partly because it's hard for people to be sneaky here. My booth has cameras on it, it's in view of the front desk, and the place is small enough where the owners can keep an eye on pretty much anybody who comes in. So of course what you pay for a booth depends on size and location. My booth is about 6 feet long by around 7 feet tall by about 2 feet deep. I pay $65 a month and 10% commission on sales, which is pretty average for the area and is about what I pay on eBay. Getting items into my booth is a little easier than listing on eBay, but it still takes a little bit of time. It's not required, but I tag a lot of my items with a price gun so that people don't have to dig and pull things out and rearrange everything in order to see a price. I usually use these little labels to add the required info to my items. So I have to include some kind of title, it can just be a word or two, then my vendor number, which is 007, and the price. This is how the owners keep track of which item sold from which booth. I get paid once a month, and they keep my tags and tape them to some paper as a way of showing what's sold. I'll show you some earnings here in just a second, but I want to say that I think part of the reason my booth has been at least fairly successful is because I do a little bit of additional advertising. I've never paid for anything, but usually whenever I add more inventory, I take a picture of my booth, a picture of the new inventory, and then do a marketplace listing, and I know that I've got a decent amount of traffic coming into the store because of that. All right, here's everything that's sold in the month of December. Quite a few things. And so at the end they always give this breakdown. So I sold $1,060.74 worth of inventory, minus 10%, then minus $65 for my rent space, and then a $10 city license, which only happens once a year. So my check for this month was $879.67. I actually thought that was a little bit more than average, but it's pretty close. So this is the month of November. Total $785.55. October here, $984.40. September, $656.98. And back in August, looks like I had $1352.79. I think I'm missing a paper though, so that might just be total revenue. People who understand how business works are probably going to ask the question, how much of that is actually profit? I think that that's a great question, and there are a lot of vendors out there who are pretty much breaking even after you consider the cost of goods, all of the fees required, the time that they've spent in refurbishing things and putting stuff in their booth. Now my profit is somewhere around 25%, which in this case is $200, $220. If that's all I was getting out of this, I probably wouldn't keep my booth, but there are two main reasons why I have a booth and why I'm keeping it in 2024. Number one, my booth is a great place to offload a lot of my cheaper games. So I'll buy big lots of games, sell the more expensive ones on eBay, and then if they're around $10 or $12 or less, I put them in my booth, and I found that is a great way to maximize my time. Number two, and this is really the reason why I got my booth, is that I use it as a way to network. So I always have a flyer that has some information. Right now I have a QR code that leads to my Facebook page. It lets people know that I do buy collections. I also have a business card that I leave, and I've got quite a few responses from people. I've probably made at least 5 or 10 deals because of this. And I know it's not a lot, but over time it does add up, and so it's actually making me a little bit more money than it appears on paper. If you have any other questions about the booth or reselling, video games, anything like that, please let me know in the comments. And until next time, thanks for watching.